everybody, it's me, Margaret, and I'm outside today. Finally, the pollen has calmed down, but we still don't put the cushions back out here, but we pull them in so that they don't get covered with pollen because it's much harder to get it off the cushions. So I'm sitting down kind of low today, but it is a beautiful day. But I do have stuff to talk about. First of all, look at the beginnings of this hat. This is called the Aster hat, and I'm not thrilled with it. I think I did it correctly, but let me tell you where I got this from. First of all, the pattern is supposed to be all Aster stitch all the way up, and it was a tutorial, or is a tutorial on YouTube. So I'm going to put the link in the description box below, but I want to throw in this caveat. First of all, the stitch is great and it looks really good the way she designed this hat, and I like it. However, the tutorial itself has no written instructions with it, and I need both because I don't want to sit there and watch you do an entire row of the same thing. I'm just too impatient. You know how I am. And the other thing, and this could be good and this can be bad, but I found her knitting style to be unusual. It's very awkward for me to translate into my knitting style. And the way it is it's thumbs. She's all thumbs, but in a good way. Usually when we say all thumbs, we're talking about, you know, just not successful at something. But she was very successful at it. But it's very much controlled with her thumbs. She yarns over with her thumbs and the whole shebang. Now, that was bad for me because I had difficulty translating that to my style. I had to keep watching and watching and watching, and then was going, oh, okay, I think I got it. However, I think it could be really, really good for anybody who is having difficulty with learning to knit. The way I learned to knit was watching different people, lots of different styles. Never saw this style before though. I think it's very unique. And finally, it just clicked for me. What worked for me, that is. And this, if you are having difficulties for whatever reason, explore all kinds of different styles. There's Portuguese knitting, which is another thing. The yarn goes around you, and I think you have this little thing you wear right here. And I know that sounds like, oh, that's too much trouble. But no, it isn't. It's actually a very efficient way to do it. And then there's another way of knitting where they put it under their arm, one needle under their arm, and they can just fly. It's supposed to go faster like that. And now we have this girl who apparently has designed her own technique, and it's a very unusual thing. So we'll put the link in the description box below just for you to see that and to see the actual finished product of what the hat was supposed to look like. But I want to tell you what, this stitch, as unique and cute as it is, was hard to me. I found it to be much more tedious, and you know me, I don't like tedious. And so I ended up saying, okay, this hat's getting 3 rows, and then because the lattice looking part right here, that lattice is sort of a garter stitch lattice. So I said, okay, we're going to garter all the way up and finish this hat. So that's for me and my experimentation for this week. Was it a win? Was it a loss? I think it was a meh. Now, as you may know by now, unless you're a brand spanking new viewer, I am in the process of moving to Atlanta. The announcement details will be in a video here. Click up there. Anyway, when you move and you have to go through the process of packing and weeding and donating and selling and doing all the things that you do to get ready to move, you find things. Oh, you people have such an absent-minded friend. Look what I just found. This is a bag that I made a long time ago. And see, look, I put my little Sheepishly Sharing label on it. Anyway, I found this stuffed under some blankets in the other room. Apparently, I was making a kid-size sock head hat. I do remember beginning to do this, and I just don't know what happened. I think I must have cleaned up in a hurry, and I stuffed it in the cabinet, and it somehow got covered with blankets. And so it's like, oh, surprise, what are these needles? I don't even know. But that was good, a good surprise here. This is my good yarn that I never have made anything out of. Kangaroo dyer. I got this at Webb's. Blue-faced Leicester. Is that how you say that? Isn't that pretty? I don't know if the colors are coming out accurately or not. I'm on my little red Canon camera. But, yeah, there. But anyway, this is that sock yarn that I like, the Deborah Norville, and that's in the color Chili. But that was a nice surprise. And here's another thing I found. This is a book called Knit the Season. It's a Friday night knitting club novel, and I bought this at the Dollar Tree probably 2 years ago. And the deal was this: I listened to a lot of audiobooks because I could do things like pack, knit, crochet, whatever, with, you know, while getting the book at the same time. And I had listened to the Friday Night Knitting Club. I actually have that one. But then there was another book called Knit 2, wasn't that clever? I had not read that one yet. Well, when I saw this on sale for $1, I snatched it up and said, okay, as soon as I listen to the second book, then I'm going to read this one, which would be like the third one. I never listened to the second one, and I put this in my bedside table, and I just found it. Excuse me, I still have this bronchitis. I'm sorry, I got a cough. Goodness, I don't ever have that bronchitis stuff. I don't ever want it again. That's terrible. Okay. Do you remember a while back I was doing some patterns from one of my favorite people in the world, which is repeatcrafterme.com. Sarah is her name. And she did this little barn hat and a sheep playing in the pasture hat with a white picket fence. Well, I completed my white picket fence, and it doesn't look like hers, and I don't know why. Her pickets, my pickets aren't showing very well. It's supposed to be, you know, coming up like that. Mine just looks like everything's too small. So I went back to see if I had made a mistake in the pattern, and no, I did exactly what it was, what she said to do. So I'm a little confused. Do not know what I did wrong on that. So at the time of construction, I was concerned because crochet stitches, your slat in the fence kind of leans like this at a slant, and I was like, oh no, this is not going to work. But when you put your boards on your fence on the outside like that, you don't really notice it, and it's fine. However, I'm missing my pickets. They're kind of hiding in there. So I'm not quite sure what I did wrong, but I'm not ready to give up on that, and I'll tell you why. Back this summer, Joanne had a sale, and I grabbed these little sheep buttons. Aren't they cute? With the little flowers. And that happens to be, this is why it caught my eye, what she used. She put the sheep and the flowers all romping in the field behind the fence. So that's got to be one of the cutest things I've ever seen for a little baby hat. So I have to figure out what I did wrong here and do this again so I can make my little sheep romp in a field. I've told you before that the reason I started making videos 3 years ago was because I needed to find some friends that liked knitting and crochet, because none of my friends got it. They didn't understand. So I just jumped on into the YouTube community, and it's been one of the best things I have ever done. And I got much more out of it than just friends. I get the benefit of really smart people, really creative people who share super ideas. You've taught me a lot, and then you give me great suggestions. You even spark my own imagination, and it's been wonderful. And a recent example of that comes from Marky Davis, who is a viewer that gave me a great tip. Last week I was referencing the weighted blankets that we've been talking about for several weeks for people with sensory integration processing disorders and things like that. And Marky, well, let me read this to you. These discussions on weighted blankets are always really interesting to see, since I have a sensory processing disorder too. One of those blankets has been on my to-craft list for a while now. One tip I know is to make a small weighted square first to test if the recipient likes the feel of the filler and fabric used. For example, I wouldn't be able to stand something like beans where I could feel the individual beans, but someone else would love that. Another tip is the possibility of a crochet border to give an extra sensory experience too. Okay, so that was a great comment for 2 reasons. All right, first of all, Marky, I think I replied to you this, but Anne, Hooking with Hounds, Anne, who has her own YouTube channel and is a fantastic crocheter and also my Christmas buddy, by the way, she shared with me that she has children with this same sensory processing disorder, and she uses weighted blankets, and she uses weights from weighted exercise vests. So they don't have that gravelly feel, you know, the loose beads type feel. So that's another thing to consider. Never crossed my mind that would be an issue, and I should know better than that. So thank you, Marky, for bringing that up. And then her brilliant suggestion about the crochet edging on the outside of a blanket. Okay, well, let's go back now to Repeat Crafter Me, Sarah, that I think the world of. This is a brilliant idea, Marky, because that does add the feeling, the texture, something to fiddle with. Well, there's just lots of benefits of that. And so Sarah, Repeat Crafter Me, has just recently done a tutorial where you use a special rotary blade that cuts tiny little holes that are evenly spaced so that you have something to crochet in, so you can put the crocheted edging on a fabric blanket. Genius, perfect, meant to be together. So I'm going to link that in the description box below because you really need to see that. Okay, not only was that great, but it led me to think of something else. Have you seen these things in the stores? These are baby fidget quilts. This happens to be a little small one that was made by somebody on Etsy, but you can literally buy these in the store. Do you see the texture of this blue? The little ribbons on the side. Okay, well, why couldn't you do the exact same thing, but make it for an Alzheimer's patient? Any child, not just for babies. So look here. This too is from Etsy. This is called the Busy Man. Whoever did these is the Busy Man fidget quilts. So as you can see, this was designed to suit a man, to appeal to a man with dementia, and you can see lots of familiar things like laces, a belt buckle, zippers, shirt pockets with buttons on there, just things to mess with. So I think that's ingenious, actually. Let me see if I can find a different one. Look, there's the same principle, but just some different things on there. There's even a shirt cuff with buttons on it. And I think this is really clever. Now, we could do these for people of all ages with sensory processing disorder. And it can easily translate into knitting and crochet. Once upon a time, I was a teacher, and there were these things called quiet books. And if you've ever had children in your house, you probably know about these things. They can be used to teach fine motor skills like buttoning, like zipping, just tucking things in. You can have matching. Here's one right here, counting. Lots of different types of things. And if you want to see a lot of pictures, put quiet book in your search tab in Pinterest. But there's also search quiet book on YouTube, and you can see a little tour of some of the quiet books that people have made, which are really, really impressive. This one especially, it's called Kirsty's Quiet Book, and this woman went above and beyond. There are no-sew versions of these. See, down here, no-sew. And that's fine if you have a nice, normal, quiet child who doesn't like to tear things up. This would have worked great for my 2 older ones. Thomas never would have worked in a million years. He'd rip all those things off, so keep that in mind. The themes and possibilities are endless. There are tons of patterns and templates available for free online, or you can make your own. If you know the person you're making it for, then you can customize it. Did they love to cook? Well, here's a pie for a weaving activity. Could you crochet or knit one? I don't see why not. I don't know of any patterns out there, but here's an idea for you to start with. You open the mittens, and there could be a picture of a family member or even a mirror. Oh, and vocabulary word of the day, the fidgeting and fiddling that these kids do, or adults or whatever, that need to keep their hands busy. It's called stimming, and I thank Rebecca, Reb64, for telling me that. She just got her master's in special education, I think it was, and she shared that vocabulary word with me. I'm just sitting on the floor here taking a break from packing, as I've been doing for hours today. And do you see this big piece of furniture? This is where I keep a lot of my knitting stuff stored. You know, just my collection of needles goes in there. I had it all nice and neatly arranged. Should have showed you beforehand, shouldn't I? But I just thought to grab the camera. But this piece of furniture is probably going to end up in Tucker's office. So regardless, I need to empty this because it's huge for the move, and I thought I need to come up with a better way to keep up with these needles, especially in the interim. So Erin, Give Me Yarn 418, my knitting guru that I talk about all the time, has a video out where she shows her needle organizational method, and she uses these things. I'm going to link you below so you can see this, but they're called secure top sheet protectors, and I had never heard of them. And apparently, as I searched, there's only Martha Stewart who makes them. Found some on Amazon, put them in my cart, and kind of forgot about them. This was a while ago. And I got a message the other day that they had dropped in price from $11 a piece to $7. And so I said, ooh, I'm going to go ahead and get these. So they came in today. And essentially what I'm doing right now is just trying to collect all my stuff together. I'm probably going to put it in this bag just for hauling around. And when I get to the new house, I'll come up with a real method that works for me. But in the meantime, I've just got them sorted in order in these little handy dandy pockets. So I'm going to look for that video down below, because she explains it so much better and has a much better plan, where I'm just kind of in the beginning stages of working something out for myself. And you know that rule about if you don't use it within a year, you should throw it out? Well, I threw out, or rather donated, a whole bunch of notebooks, and this is the only one that I had left. So this is the notebook that I'm using right now. So that's a stupid rule. And if you don't have some little pockets that you have handily sewn yourself or purchased from someone else who sews, here's a little goodie. I found these at Walmart. I think they were pretty inexpensive. I know I bought some of them on the after-school sale, or the closeouts or whatever, but they're kind of, what do you call that material that feels like scuba diving suits? That's what it feels like, neoprene. This one feels a little different than that, though. But these are wonderful for storing different whatever. I mean, I've got all those bamboo needles stored in here, and they just kind of fit in there. All those 16-inch bamboo needles I bought from, I think it was eBay, or no, it was Amazon, I think, very inexpensively. But these are great little zipper pouches that, oh look, my glow-in-the-dark crochet hooks. These are things I could probably do without, but I'm not. So it's early Thursday morning, and I'm sitting here with a cup of coffee in the quiet, perusing Pinterest, and I come across this. Knitting tip, give your yarn the cold shoulder. And her hand's on the refrigerator. Like, what the heck? So here it is. It says, yep, that's right. The cold shoulder via our refrigerator's freezer. Why freeze yarn overnight? Dispel most unwanted odors. Works on cigarette smoke, cooking odors, and other assorted smellies. So I guess if you smoke yourself and before you want to give this to someone, you could do this. Or if you inherit some yarn from a smoking home. Now, I question these words of quote unquote wisdom, because you see this chair and this chair? My mother smoked, and she died in 1993. These chairs have been steam cleaned twice. I really like the fabric on them, especially now it's coming back, this kind of pea green color. And I love these chairs. They're really high quality. However, smoke smell does not come out of them. Now, we are in a very open room here, you see, and so you really aren't aware of the smell until you come very close to it. But when we put them in a small room in the Oxford house, it knocked you out when you walked into that room. So I am going to put these chairs, I'm going to try to remember to put these chairs out in freezing temperatures next winter, and we're going to see if freezing actually removes smoke smell. I don't think so. Now back to this tip, cooking odors. Why would you have cooking odors in your yarn? Not quite sure about that one. Or I guess if you were to buy, say, an old sweater from Goodwill and you're trying to save the yarn, you know, rip it out and use that yarn, you could do that. But in any of these instances, why don't you just wash your yarn? I mean, as far as I know, and I have tried every home remedy there is, every bought product you could buy, the only thing that actually removes the smell of smoke is hot water and soap. Sometimes you can do it with cold water and soap, it just depends on the item, but why don't you just wash your yarn? I don't get it. Before ripping out mohair or other fuzzy yarns, freeze them overnight. The cold will help the fuzzy fingers untangle and make it much easier to frog and rip. I question this because being such a porous surface, by the time you take it out and begin the process, it's going to be at room temperature and nothing flat. So I don't know if that's such a great idea, but I'm sharing it with you all the same. Last week in the comments, Ian Sharps said, I really do appreciate you taking the time to make these vlogs even though you must be so busy preparing to move. And yes, I am, but guys, you forget how important you are to me. And besides, you know, I'm leaving behind all of this. I'm leaving behind my friends and my church, and but I get to bring you with me. This is huge. This is good. So yes, I'm going to keep making my videos, and I'm going to keep looking for your comments down below. And you know what? I have really messed up the Ravelry group. It was not getting a whole lot of traffic, and then I wasn't checking it on a regular basis, and now it's kind of dead. So I think I might just delete that group because that didn't work out very well for me, did it? Since I reply to comments, and I know a lot of people don't do that on their YouTube videos, but it works for me. So, you know, I think this will be our little group as it is. Is that okay? Or should I try to do something different to rev up the Ravelry group? I don't know. What's your opinion? One of my favorite comments that I got last week, maybe ever, came from Shauna Bell. And she says, I love your videos. They are full of useful randomness. I love that. Is that not a perfect description of mine? Sometimes it's not so useful, but it's definitely full of randomness, right? And another one of my favorite comments from all time comes from Cindy Brown. And Cindy, I haven't seen you post for a while. I hope she's still watching. Last Christmas, I was making fun of my forgetfulness, which is very common of me. And I told y'all the story about how we discovered that pogo stick hiding in the attic that I apparently bought for several Christmases years ago. Well, anyhow, Cindy Brown had shared the feeling of forgetfulness, and she said, sometimes I think I could hide my own Easter eggs. We have laughed about that comment. It brightened my day when I read it, and we use that comment all the time about Mom, she could hide her own Easter eggs. And now I think of Cindy every time we say that. Funny thing is that I did hide some, not eggs, but I hid some candy for Thomas at Easter this time, and I was packing all those knickknacks up in the shelves, and I found one of the Easter eggs. Completely forgot where I hid it for him. Oh goodness, that's enough of me for today. Y'all probably tired of hearing this voice, and I will be making a video for next week. Again, can't tell you when it's going to be. I'm just going to surprise you when it shows up. Talk to you soon. Bye. Look at the azaleas now. You see why I wanted to show them to you last week while they were pretty? They don't last long.